Alright guys, Bill, I'm here back with more Little Nightmares 2. We're very close to the end from what I understand, like around an hour or so. So we're getting, this will be the last episode for today, but I'm hoping I can finish it tomorrow.
I see.
It's just me ripping Assassin's Creed Rift a new one. I'm loving it.
Strange concept for a game. Makes me want to shit and piss.
Still listening to
Okay.
Four Pillars
Right.
podcast.
Want some shit and piss.
And on that note, let's talk about fucking Halo before.
Alright, fuck
Let's
it.
go.
As
Oh,
it was spoiler cast, which to be honest, I don't care that much, but...
Alright.
Oh shit.
So then,
You're welcome.
let's start with, well, James, let's start with you. Let's just do the quick runarounds of our general thoughts on Halo Infinite before we dive in, because I've literally not said to anyone, I don't think, what my thoughts on it are. I wanted to wait till this podcast to do it. So, yeah, I just want to leave that there. And we do know how much I hate Halo 5 at worst game all time. This has to be a lot. But, James, let's start with you. What are your teaser thoughts?
What did I think of Halo Infinite? I liked it for the most part. I thought it was very, very solid game. Best thing 3 has done so far. I think in a lot of ways it does stand up against the Bungie trilogy in some ways, not in every way. And there are some things that draw it back. I mean, the biggest drawback for me is like the variation in locations you're visiting, which is there's 3 locations. It's Forerunner, Banished Base, the Woods, and that's it. Those are the only places you go to. Yeah,
I love the
that
Woods.
is it. And so
I go to the Woods down.
and so like that does hold it back for me and make it just like it's a huge part of Halo that's just not there, and it is kind of upsetting. Obviously, being a live service, 10 years down the line, you're going to look back, it's going to be fully fleshed out, a bunch of different locations, a bunch of different campaigns, whatever. But as it stands, like this campaign, it was very lacked variety, and that sucked. But I do think what this game does is it makes up for that lack of variety and set pieces as well, because there's no like big scarab fights or anything.
Let's see. Okay, I got it now. Kind of. No, episode 6 uploaded. That's something. Alright guys, feeling we're back more Little Nightmares. Where is it?
Variety and set pieces as well, because there's no like big scarab fights or anything like that, but it makes up for it with like a really nice personal compelling story, and maybe the story that Halo 4 should have been. The way that it tackles the relationship between Chief and Cortana, and the way that it goes about building a new relationship between Chief and the weapon in like just a really good way. I think it shows a lot of restraint in a lot of ways, in being able to tell that narrative between new characters coming together and finding their sort of place together, and I really like that. And I think it characterizes Chief in a way that doesn't need to be so upfront and blatant and in your face. It's very subtle and just sort of like behind his visor, you can tell there's an there are emotions there, but he doesn't outright just display it like he does in Halo 4 and Halo 5.
Yeah, where he goes at the end of Halo 4, he goes,
No.
What? What?
Cortana says that she's going away or whatever the fuck it is.
I'm not coming with you, John. What?
What? The fucking way he says it, man.
And then there's the time where he's on the ship at the end with Lasky on the...
Like, I know what I'm supposed to do, it's just how do I do it?
He is.
Lasky's talking about
Fuck.
how Chief said something as if Soldier Machine soldiers and people are different, you know, or something like that. That soldiers are just machines or whatever, and in reality they're just people. And when he walks away, Chief just goes to himself. She said that to me once, and I thought
Yeah, it's not funny. That was just a bit silly.
because I understand the emotional moment.
Completely on his own.
Chief would inner monologue that shit. He would not say it.
Yeah.
It's so yeah.
It's like an anime
But it's
moment.
but it's I think Halo Infinite does a really good job of telling that story, and I was very connected to Chief's journey through the game and his connection to the weapon. I thought the Banished were a really good menacing force. I thought there was a lot of the antagonists that were set up quite nicely. The boss battles were quite good like that. I think it was quite a well-paced game. It's not too long, and that's brilliant. It does not overstay its welcome. I think that's fantastic. And overall, I think it was just a game that really did hit a lot of the things I wanted them to hit. It's not the perfect Halo game, and it's not really close to that. I think that once they do more additions to this, which, you know, it's a live service, once they continue to do that, they're going to flesh this out and do some really good stuff with it. But as it stands, Halo Infinite is sort of a really nice opening to this Halo Infinite saga of campaigns. I think that it tells a really nice self-contained story, a personal journey, and it sets up some really interesting things to move into in the future. So I'm overall pretty happy with it. It's not better than any of the Bungie games, I don't think, but it's better than all the 343 ones by quite a bit. And that's probably where I'd place it overall.
Yeah.
Pretty happy with it.
Oh.
The commercial break of all commercial breaks. Catch up on the big game's biggest ads.
Wow, yes.
Alright, Ethan, what about you?
With Halo Infinite, I mean, obviously I didn't play Halo 5 because I just kept hearing that it was a steaming pile of dog shit and I shouldn't touch it. So I came into this. I don't think I suffered for not knowing what the fuck happened in Halo 5. I have a rough idea. I just don't care enough, and so I don't think I suffered for that because the game begins and you get.
They sort of pretend it didn't exist anyway.
Yeah, you know,
It does not matter.
yeah, you start the game and you're being ragged about by a big gorilla, and I thought to myself, this is the life. I really enjoyed a lot of Halo Infinite again because it was fun. The open world concerns I had, some of them rang a bit true. I want to say not all of them, some of them. Some of it ran, and one such example being is the tedium of Halo. Like, is much more obvious now. Like, Halo's always had some objectives where you have to go here and do this and then go somewhere else and do the same thing. But because the areas used to be, you know, unique more often than not, it would be okay. It would be doable. Even in previous 343 games about that, I mean 4, which had it, there were moments where this would happen, but it'd be somewhere fresh, and I'd go, okay, but it's somewhere fresh that, you know, has a different style to anywhere else I've been. And so I guess I can suffer it for a minute. And, you know, that was also in some of the Bungie games like Reach and things like that. But when it was presented, that similar objectives were presented in Infinite, where you had to do things in like 3 different locations, whatever, I think I'd sigh and go, I've seen all of this. Why I'm just dashing about the map, you know. And so that did get on my nerves a little bit, and I feel like Halo Infinite does suffer for the fact that it's got this open space inside which everything has to occur in some capacity, besides maybe the opening. And when you go off into a little area that for the most part will look almost the same as somewhere else. And I guess I just sort of... It did numb me a bit, I will not lie. However, the storytelling aspect to it, what was there, and what I could follow, I really enjoyed. I liked this introduction of the weapon, which got called Weapon all the way throughout the game. Just in subtitles, never referenced in beyond that. Just weapon. And I thought, okay, that's mad. But there was a nice dynamic there. I feel like they definitely dialed back on Master Chief, and they went for better timed delivery of lines than I think Halo 4 did. So I mentioned before a line from Halo 4 that seemed a bit out of place. In this, you know, you've got the more silent when there's a bit of emotion going on, and you also get the sarcasm of Chief a bit as well that I quite enjoy, because I feel like sarcasm is never poorly placed in a character like this if done right.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And when Chief is being sarcastic, I'm thinking, oh, that's something I'd expect Chief to say in this moment. And there are several moments where he won't speak at all, even though he's almost being bantered on by
fuck off.
as it were. And I thought that was
the controls.
Quite fitting. And I think the delivery of Chief was a lot better. His armor is a million times better.
Fuck off!
Like old Halo armor,
I'm pushing the
rather
thing.
than that clunky mess that was whatever the fuck he had in Halo 4 and Halo 5.
Weird.
It was like he went into that stasis pod at the end of, like, was it Halo 3?
Yeah.
And he came out in Halo 4 with different armor completely.
It's the nanobots, mate. It's the nanobots.
Yeah, exactly. They could have easily made that so much less frustrating if they'd gone, oh yeah, we've gone for a different creative approach. Just not try to explain it in game. Instead, nanobots have changed his armor entirely.
Yeah.
How do you do that without killing the man in the suit in the vacuum of space?
Because nanobots, man, it's crazy.
Nanobots, active. All I'm saying is, his armor no longer looks ridiculous. It's heftily green, but it's nice and sleek, and I like it. And there were some good emotional moments, as I mentioned as well. I liked the Echo 216 character. He was entertaining. Yeah. There were some moments where I was like, just can you stop whining for a minute, please? I'm trying to kill some Banished, and he'd be there like, we need to go. And it's like, but I'm killing a brute. Give me a sec. But when there were good moments with him, I thought, oh, this is all right. And I think he's probably the only character in Halo canon to give Master Chief a hug, which was
and
it was almost
he pushes Chief. He gets all angry at him.
He tries to, and doesn't he try to?
True, he doesn't really do anything.
It sort of hurts. It sort of hurts him. He goes, ow, you know. It's like, it's made of hefty gear. That
classic bro
hammer.
I'm a fucking idiot.
I enjoyed Halo Infinite for what it was, but I definitely see significant shortcomings in it, for the sense that I think, like I said, the tedium's been highlighted because it's all in one sort of area. There's not much environmental variety, and so when you get like a classic Halo objective of doing the same thing in several places, which has worked in the past for it to a degree, it doesn't have that unique feel of being in a different spot, and so I just sort of felt like I was just doing things in the world for a long time with that. I enjoyed getting to scraps with like the bosses and things, because although sometimes it could be a pain in the neck, and there was one boss fight that was these two brute bastards. One of them had Locke's helmet on, was it?
Yeah.
One of them had Locke's helmet on his shoulder thing. And I thought, you know what, these guys can die in a fire. But beyond that, I quite enjoyed that. The Escherun fight dragged me about the place. I got absolutely pummeled over and over and over again, and then I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. But when I got that done, I felt satisfied. There was a nice payoff in that moment where you got like a line that I went, that's cheap, you know. And I thought, oh, okay, I quite like that. Maybe worded a bit too much, but I still like it. And then there was another fight, and a bit later on with another boss, and I was just, my head was in my hands, and I was just going, oh, okay, right, I've got to recharge myself so I can do this. And then I was satisfied coming into these big overall, but I wouldn't say it was anywhere near the level of the old Bungie titles. But it's, I can agree. It's probably the best 343's done. Unless you consider the fucking multiplayer.
Feel stuck with your finances? Move your money to SoFi and earn up to 1% APY.
Unless you consider the fucking multiplayer.
Well, the multiplayer
is fun.
Still
It's fun, but the progression is part of the fun.
Yeah.
The progression is part of the fun.
It's definitely still better than 4 and 5, in my opinion, I think.
function,
But I'd rather
I mean,
play it.
progression is... I like progression.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong.
yeah, that goes
We can
without
get
saying.
on to that. But, being,
Yeah, I wasn't going to touch on it for too long, but as far as the campaign's concerned, I was happy enough. Happy enough.
And George, what about you, man? Halo fan?
It was nice to play a Halo game that actually felt like Halo. Actually, I think it was pretty well, especially in terms of like the Forerunner structures. They look really fucking good. Remind me a lot of Halo 3 with like those doorways with a little symbol in the middle. So they took those out of Halo 4 and 5, but they're back in Infinite. Like Zeta Halo in general, I really like the whole history around it. Once they release more expansions, which is, I don't like saying that because I don't like the whole live service thing they're doing with Halo and its campaigns. But once they release more campaigns and we understand more about Zeta Halo, I think it's a good story there. It's just to echo what people said, like...
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, the lack of fucking variety in areas is a huge down. Like, I stopped playing the game for like a week because I was just sick of walking through forests all the time. I just couldn't fucking bother with it anymore. Like, it's a great game and it's really fun. The story was good, the characters were good, but the environments were like, they were really cool at first. And don't get me wrong, the open world aspect of like, you know, exploring around the Halo ring was really cool. But it's just the fact that it was just the same fucking copy-paste forest and like rock ranges like every 5 seconds.
I did really enjoy getting shit torched by grunts.
The grunts were great, yeah.
The grunts were shit. They chucked dribble and it was incredible.
Yeah, the grunts were probably the best
telling
they've been.
stories amongst each other and you come and kill them.
Yeah, the grunts were probably the best they've been since the Bungie games, to be honest. They felt like actual grunts. They were pretty funny. They had good designs.
The grunts in like Halo 4,
but probably something bullshit like that. I can't really say because well, I haven't played 4 in a while, but I have played like a couple months ago. But I just did not pay attention to it whatsoever. Obviously, lack of co-op is really disappointing.
Yeah, no,
it's a big thing. I wanted to play a co-op as soon as possible. That's a shame. I'm still sort of confused about Cortana's story. Like, is Cortana dead? The original Cortana?
Yeah, she's dead. She's dead until she's not. Until
that's
shit. Yeah, that's how I feel.
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, but she's dead. But then they'll decide in like 5 years.
I actually hated Cortana's design as well. It looked fucking stupid. Like,
I
don't know why her face looks really weird and like the purple. Like...
Some jobs don't come with...
And at least this one's
They come
skippable.
with 16-hour shifts from Sunday to Sunday.
You were supposed to go through it. So why couldn't I go through it? Whatever.
Like, I don't know why her face looks really weird and like the purple. Like, I know she was originally purple, but let's be honest, Cortana was blue after Halo 2.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a differentiated 2 AI.
I'm a fucking idiot and don't know the difference between the weapon and Cortana, though, let's be honest.
I know, but I guess they just think, like, someone playing this new, they're going to be like, who's who, and they wanted the weapon to be blue, so they were like, we'll make Cortana a classic purple again, I suppose.
Well, actually, I liked Cortana's modern design. When they did the flashbacks to, like, say, when Cortana was first given the cheat, she looks really fucking weird. I'm looking at a picture of her right now, and she just looks so strange.
It's because they don't want she's like basically naked, so we've got to make it look like she's wearing something, even though she's not. And so her design looks fucking weird.
What?
She's literally is naked.
So I guess you have to not push anything?
She's not naked, but she doesn't have a body, she's just...
It's
just
weird.
Like a projection.
It's a weird thing that 343 have done. It's like why they gave her the suit of armor in Halo 5, because they were like, oh, we can't, this is too... We've got to make aggressive,
Cortana hedge.
No move.
Cortana hedge.
No move
Bad.
Halo 4 Cortana is still best Cortana ever. She got big too bad.
It's on basement, but I want to play.
If I'm playing a game, if I'm playing a fucking campaign of a Halo game, honestly, not in 6, mate.
Fuck. Let me go through. I don't get why it's not letting me go through.
A little bit fucking weird and clunky.
Oh, I enjoyed a lot.
Some of them were
I liked
good.
them. I thought
The
they
two
were good.
I
hunters.
do know that some of them did get on my nerves a little. I didn't
What is that? The spine?
Yeah, there was the two elites that you could defend this to.
Oh, hang on. I'm talking about the main bosses, not the options.
Yeah, me too.
No, there were two main bosses for Turtles.
Yeah, I liked the most
I don't get it. I just don't get it. Why can't I go through?
Jaeger?
Yeah.
What the fuck is that? I don't remember.
The elite, the one with the red energy sword, right?
yeah, but that one was. I liked that one because I liked that one and I'll explain why. You're in an enclosed space, it's dark, the visibility's low anyway, and so it's almost like a bit of a weather because it would come from sort of situation. I was like, I actually don't know. Whereas in the other one, you just whack down the threat sensor. Oh, there it is. Mob a thing, mob a. Bang.
What the fuck? Again, I don't get it. Why isn't it letting me go through?
Maybe not so much the skill tree linked to them. I feel like that was a bit silly with the spine cores and whatnot. I don't know. It's just
It's not necessary. It's a necessary flow to the system that didn't need it, but it's not enough depth to like warrant the existence of either. It's middle ground.
I think a little bit of depth that I would have liked to see on the fucking skill tree as well. No, the grappling hook. Why couldn't I upgrade the fucking range on that thing? Like, it pretty far range. It doesn't. It fucking doesn't.
I don't get it. I don't fucking get it. Like, why isn't it letting me go through?
range is higher in multiplayer, I'm pretty sure. Maybe it's the other way around. I know that one is higher than the other.
Well, it let me down on many occasions.
I didn't really have a big problem with that, but
I mean,
I could see it.
I saw it
Oh.
unnecessary time in the traversal in this open world space, and sometimes to get things nice and clean, it was just didn't have quite enough range. It was always only just not enough range. I did like that you could use it to launch yourself. I thought that was useful. You could launch yourself with it, and that I liked. And I liked that you could upgrade the recharge, and that you couldn't just use it willy-nilly. I liked it because, you know, it's quick to recharge, use it again. But like just a touch more range and loads of situations.
Again, like, I don't get it. Why isn't it not letting me go through?
Grappling hook almost like reminded me. There were certain combat situations that felt a lot like Doom Eternal, which I liked a lot because the combat in that game is great. Just being able to grapple around with enemies, just the little ground slam ability and stuff. Like there was stuff that they implemented in like Halo 5 that they reworked in this game that I thought was really good and stuff.
I both loved and hated like
Oh, the hunters were fucking one of the most impressive parts of the game.
It was very good.
I loved it because it was, yes, I actually have to.
What button am I supposed to push? Again, like, why isn't it letting me go through?
But no, I really enjoyed it because I was like, oh, this could put me on my arse really quick, so I'm going to be methodical. And the game encouraged you to use the sandbox aspect of the game to face these hunters. You know, you'd have to get around them, you'd have to get behind them, you'd have to get some explosives going on.
And I think that's the core thing, right, with Halo Infinite is the gameplay itself, the base gameplay and the sandbox is just fantastic. It's more so the content is so lacking in a lot of areas.
Needs more weapons.
It makes
as well.
you feel like the game is missing something, and that's a shame. And the stuff there is good. Like, don't get me wrong, I did really like Halo Infinite, and I still really do. And like when I played it through a second
I guess
time,
this is actually a
I
known
loved
bug.
it. I liked it more. Like when I played it through a second time,
Yeah.
I just focused completely only on story and just played through. I was like, it's actually paced really well if you do like no side stuff at all.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool.
I will say that I like how the open world in a way does lend itself more to the sandbox thing because you know, while you're in this open space, you've got all these possibilities. You can go to a FOB base, and get like several Marines in a
Razorback.
warthog thing.
A Razorback.
A Razorback,
Yeah.
that's right, in a
Let's do
Razorback
this.
with sniper rifles and just ride into battle and they're
it's
fucking up
mental.
everything.
Or like
so
arcane
much
sentinel beams,
Just
and they
wanna see
just
something.
absolutely melt through
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
It's
So
incredible. I just love that sandbox aspect.
Yeah, it's very
It
Halo.
gives me will to live. That I liked. I didn't like how the open world sort of limited other possibilities for the storytelling. It was balanced okay in the sense that it had positives and negatives. It didn't get in the way of the storytelling in the sense that it did for progression. But I think it restricted the storytelling still because everything had to be close. There was one specific part of the Halo.
Yeah, and I think that's where you can change it. So the main missions take
What the fuck? Yeah, it had to be a glitch.
because every
There
time you
must
do
have been a
main
glitch
mission,
there. What the
you know, if
fuck?
you want to have this open world, you
Works the first try
like,
after.
there is like an argument for it, and I think the sandbox is really enjoyable there. And you could have some stuff happen, you know, within this open space you've got, but then you go to a mission marker, you go to a Pelican, it takes you to a mission, you know, somewhere else on the ring, and that is like, you know, a thing that you can do. And if you did that and you had that balance, I think the game there'd be a lot more sort of substance there in terms of your environments.
I suppose if there's any future campaigns of this game, would you imagine they'd take place in their own sort of
Oh,
areas?
hold on.
I imagine they'll do it like for every new update, it'll be like a new something like for every campaign. That's what I would imagine
Okay.
they're gonna do.
But the question lies in, will these regions actually...
I imagine there'll be like new biomes. Like I imagine next one will be like a whole desert region. One after that, a whole snowy mountain region.
I guess I'd like that. I mean, it's not something I'm going to sit and go, oh, you know what, I want a fucking desert in an update. I'd rather they make a game go, here's the game.
Oh, this is terrible.
Yeah. And then you have all these regions.
Wow.
You know, you have
Cool. Perfect.
maybe not a stupidly long
I hate
story, but a
sections
story
like
that
this.
doesn't outstay its welcome in one area, which is what I feel like Halo Infinite almost did. It didn't in the sense that I enjoyed the story, you know, so I wasn't thinking it was outstaying its welcome. But I think about it, if there were other regions available, that was somewhere else. And I was going through it, and unfortunately that's just not the structuring or business model they're going for. So I did feel like the open world aspect had great sandbox elements to it. Could it be adapted and improved upon? Absolutely. But on the other hand, I also think it kind of gimped the almost
Step into the new when you drive a Chevy. It's time for a fresh approach and a new perspective. And find the Chevy that's right for you. Find new experiences. Find new...
the unique design that took a minute. The unique design philosophies and all of, you know, keeping everything fresh, which would have been much nicer.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's be real. If I'm gonna make my ideal Halo game, I'm gonna remove the open world. Like, you know, if I can have it my way, we just have linear missions because that's
I don't mind.
You know,
I don't mind. You know, if we think like combat evolved, or you know, if we think that, I don't mind like smaller, enclosed sort of spaces where you can play with the sandbox as you go through the missions, and that's just for that mission, then you shift.
Yeah.
They should, after they've done the life cycle of Infinite, they can bring back the open world aspect, but just don't do it in Chief games, because I don't know.
Yeah, do cycle. Like, Halo is such an expansive universe.
It
like,
is.
IP that, like, why can't you do more experimental side projects? Like, the Halo Wars games were received really well, and they're great, and those are your side RTSs. Do a side game that focuses on this Halo Infinite style of open world space with a different character, a different story. That's cool.
A story that's
the Chief games, those linear mission focused
Oh, I
games,
died.
because it's so strong for a Chief game. It's supposed to be this like action-packed cinematic adventure across space and Halo rings and all this shit.
like a story of Locke on a journey to find his missing helmet. That'd be quite funny.
Oh, I hope he's dead.
Oh, me too. I haven't even played Guardians, and I want him to be dead.
Yeah.
Like big time dead. You know, like, I hope he gets smart. I hope his head is encased.
Oh no, I don't hope Locke is. We're talking about Locke.
Shut the fuck up.
Look, dude was just the concept of his character.
Okay,
is
can we at least agree that Palmer needs to be dead?
Oh my god.
She's the really tall
Exactly.
one,
She's
not the tall one,
nice.
the small one, the one with the white armor.
She walked up to Master Chief and went, I thought you'd be taller.
She's
He's
dead.
7'2".
Oh, is she
Did
dead?
she not die?
I don't think so.
I don't
What,
think
in
so.
5?
I don't think so.
Palmer's dead.
But no, I mean, did she not die when they attacked? Was she not in like the Spartan 4
Oh, I
facility?
mean,
She's the head of the Spartan 4, like.
But they would have said that. I feel like they would have mentioned it.
Yeah, that's actually true. That's probably true.
I feel like they would have mentioned it. It wouldn't be like, oh, you'd assume based on that. But, George, did you have any more thoughts in your summary that is
It's like the messiest fucking, like...
Yeah.
I'm like, I
collection
still
of
want to jump in,
thoughts.
but I'm like, I don't really want to say my thoughts yet. And then I'm like, I don't know when to...
I want to hear what Tyler has to say.
I was
trying to
about
think
face a bag of dicks.
like-
Oh, I see your point.
I'm trying to think of like a final sort of verdict. It's really good. I liked it a lot at the time when I was playing it. I remember there were loads of moments where I was like, oh, that was great. I really liked that. And like it was just like important moments that felt like getting the weapon for the first time, or like right at the end where he doesn't call her Cortana, does he? But it's almost like insinuated that like she
It's
wants
almost
her
like it's
name
like she's
to
like
be
earned
Cortana.
it. It's like yeah, she is Cortana.
So there you go.
Well, I mean, that's the
Cortana
thing.
was
Like
dead until
that's the
she
thing
isn't.
that I said is like I like the weapon. They let you become close to her. They form a relationship between Chief and the weapon, and then they tell you, you know, at this climactic point, that she actually is a complete copy of Cortana.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, they didn't just like drop her and go, look, she's a copy of Cortana, get used to it. They like got you to like her, and you get to feel that relationship, and like you feel that connection there. And then they drop it on you, and it's like, oh, everything sort of comes together, and it felt earned to me. And I think there's a lot of people that are probably going to hate that because they're like, no, you can't replace Cortana no matter what you do. But
she is Cortana.
thought it worked. And she is Cortana,
It's not
yeah.
really a replacement. It's just,
And I thought it worked. I thought the whole thing was just worked. It was earned.
The
and
weapon was my favourite part of
satisfied
it,
me.
for sure.
She was brilliant.
In terms of
She was-
story,
yeah,
I thought she was bloody great. And I liked the bit where like Chief is like afraid of her turning like Cortana did, so he like tries to delete her, and then she realizes what he's doing, and then she's all pissed off with him for a while until she finds out what Cortana did, and then she's all like, oh shit, why didn't you just fucking do it straight away?
And then she goes to delete, like she's like, oh, I'm ready to go. And then she's like, no, we do it together. Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
You were saying fucking half an hour ago, I can't even talk about Halo Infinite, it was alright,
I
it was
know.
fine.
I guess I don't
game.
know.
It was a good
I love
fucking
it.
game.
I
off
do
the
love
back of a half an hour
it.
conversation about God.
Yeah, look, I wasn't in the mindset, alright? I wasn't in that headspace
We're
talking about Halo.
We have gone on a fucking adventure.
Infinite is very good, yeah.
It's very good.
It's really good.
I'm happy 343 is made a good
Cover art, isn't it?
and finally managed to do something that I was able to enjoy quite thoroughly, and I'm looking forward to what they do in the future. That's my verdict on it. There we go.
Yeah, sweet.
It's entirely cuts.
Alright, Tyler, where are you at, big guy? It's scary.
It's a big tay-tay.
Yeah, look, like, obviously Halo 5, I despise so much of Halo. Like, Halo Infinite was good. Like, it was good. I agree. I liked a lot of things about it.
Was I supposed
But I
to do
just felt
something?
like with everything, the story, characters, the world, music,
What am I supposed to do then?
moments,
I can't
every
move.
detail was like, it's almost what I want it to be, but not quite. So like, as much as I agree that yes, I thought the story was solid, I thought Chief was so much better as a character and the relationship they built with Weapon was fantastic. The backstory for, finding out what happened to Cortana. Then you have a lot of, and it gives you a lot of questions right off the bat that you should be getting answers to already. What happened in 5, and then telling the 5 backstory, hearing what it is, and then throwing out Halo 6 script. In these like audio logs, and you're like, man, that gave me one to 5.
Like, I mean, like the UNSC audio.
Yeah, all those audio, yeah.
Like all the Spartan 4s dying.
It's just like, oh, that's script cheese.
We've caught the tail end of that.
Yeah, and yeah, like I liked all of that, and it brought back classic music and it brought back a very familiar art style and it flowed really well. But again, it was just
Fuck.
she was almost exactly how I wanted him, but just not. She just felt quiet there, and I think it may be just too little, too late for me. Is the reason that is like, I'm like they'd hit the old school music, and it would be like, and it almost feels like Halo, but I still sort of feel like I'm watching someone else with like Halo painted on it, if that makes sense. Like it's just there's just something off. You know, it's close to being a really good Halo game, but I don't think it's a really great Halo game. I think it's a good Halo game. Certainly better than 5 and 4. Like, I agree with you, James, in every way that it's not better than any of the Bungie games, but it is better and the best 343 game by a lot. So I certainly agree with that, and it did leave certain questions and things about the Forerunners and what happened to them in the legendary ending, and you know, following up with just the ending in general that I really like, and watching some videos again about some theories and stuff, I'm like, that's really exciting. There's some good story to be told, so I think I will stick with it a bit, but at the same time, the way I look at it now is the way I felt about it just being off by a little bit, that if I didn't play Halo Infinite, I wouldn't have felt like I missed anything, if that makes sense. So if anyone's out there like, I'm not sure if I'm going to play it or not, I don't really care right now, you haven't missed anything. And that's how I feel about it, unfortunately, and I think it did the best that it could following on from Halo 5. I really do think that's probably
Didn't feel like it followed on from that.
It's probably the best game it could have been, and I think James hit the nail on the head when he said it felt like it should have been Halo 4. A lot of the story, like the way it even flowed and started, and where you go from, it's just like, yeah, this feels like how it always should have gone. But again, maybe too little, too late. But this was a big game. Well, just to me playing it, maybe it was partly because this is the first new game I've finished since Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Like, I've not played a game since that game because that was so fucking shit. I was like just done playing. And I haven't played anything since. So Halo Infinite, I finished it 1st and 2nd of January. So I technically didn't finish any game last year, but I finished Halo, and I played it like already like 5 games this year. So I've been playing a lot more games.
That's a great start.
It's a great
I think
start.
that's a good spot to end, and we're on the final level now.
I finished Final Fantasy 7.
So,
I
we'll
played
wrap this
Tale,
up
Melody
next
of
episode.
Memory, Spider-Man as well. I played Miles Morales.
Oh,
I
banger,
hadn't played
banger.
that.